In the world of cybersecurity, having a robust and efficient security information and event management system, abbreviated as a SIEM or SIEM, is crucial. A SIEM or SIEM system gives analysts the ability to observe real-time security alerts generated by applications and network hardware. In this video, we're going to build on the previous concepts I've showcased on this channel, and we are going to explore how to integrate Zenarmor, a powerful next-generation firewall solution, with Wazuh or Wazuh, an award-winning free and open-source SIEM and XDR solution using the easy-to-configure Syslog event messages automatically generated by Zenarmor. I suggest that if any of these products or concepts sound unfamiliar, that you go check out my cybersecurity lab building series where I show you how to set up Wazuh, the Hive, Cortex, and MISP as part of a Security Operations Center or SOC, as well as many other videos covering Zenarmor. So let's build on that and continue with this video. Before we continue, I just want to say thanks to this video sponsor, Zenarmor. If you're looking for a very capable next-generation firewall solution with plenty of versatile deployment options, world-class threat intelligence, and easy to manage, go check out their website and previous videos that I've created showcasing this product. No matter if you are an MSP, an enterprise, a small business, or a home user, Zenarmor can offer almost instant security enhancements wherever you need it, in the cloud or on-prem. Okay, so to start, step one, we need to enable Syslog streams in the Zenarmor dashboard. In order to allow Zenarmor to send Syslog event messages to the Wazuh Syslog server, we first need to point Zenarmor to the Wazuh Syslog server. In the Zenarmor dashboard, you can find these settings under the data management menu. You'll need to input your Wazuh Syslog server address over here, like in my case it's 192.168.1.102, and then you'll need to input the port that your Syslog server is listening on. In this case, I've set mine to listen on 513, and then we are using TCP as the protocol for this particular setup. And as far as these indexes are concerned, I'm just sending connection information through to Wazuh. However, you have other options here like web, DNS, TLS, and alerts that you can play around with. Just as a side note, by default, Syslog servers usually listen on port 514 over UDP or 601 over TCP. I chose to use port 513 over TCP for this guide because at the time of creating this, I was testing an alternative Syslog server on the same box, so I didn't want to run into any port conflicts. Once you've set this up, all you need to do is simply click Update, and then Zenarmor will start sending all the connection information through to your Wazuh server. So moving on to step two, we need to configure Wazuh to listen for the Zenarmor Syslog streams. So in order to do this, we need to enable the Syslog server on Wazuh, and we need to make a quick amendment to our ossec.config to do that. So you need to then head over to Wazuh Management and Configuration. You'll see it over here, or you can just simply click on the management directory and it'll bring up this menu. And then you go through to configuration. And you'll see in the top right corner, you have edit configuration. And then this brings up the ossec config that you can edit directly here in your browser. We need to add this piece of XML code into the config under the remote tags. So we'll simply just say the connection type is Syslog. The port is 513, like I explained it in my case, and like we set up Zenarmor to send to port 513. The protocol that we're using is TCP. And then the allowed IPs is basically the network or the IP that you allow these Syslog messages to originate from. This is a mandatory setup for this, or else Syslog messages won't make it at all to your Wazuh server. Once you've done that, you simply need to click the save button, and then the configuration will be saved. and you need to restart the server or restart the manager, and then you'll be listening on port 513 for those connections coming through from Zenarmor. So moving on to the third step, we need to set up a custom Wazuh decoder to ingest the syslog messages originating from Zenarmor. By default, Wazuh comes with an impressive collection of predefined decoders and rules. However, Zenarmor is not included in the collection yet, so we need to create our own custom-made decoders and rules. Just a quick explanation on how Wazuh collects its data. The Wazuh manager collects the logs, like in our case using Syslog. However, it can also do this using its own agent running on the endpoints. It then goes through a 3-step analysis process, which is the pre-decoding, decoding, and rule matching phases. The pre-decoding phase extracts the timestamps and the application name and the host name from the syslog message. And once the application has been identified, the actual decoding phase begins, where the decoder extracts the defined fields from the log, like the IP address, the usernames, etc. The final phase in the rule matching process is where we configure a rule to match and compare the defined fields decoded in the previous step to decide if an alert needs to be created or not. This will make more sense when I show you the setup process in the following steps. So to create the custom decoders for our Zenarmor instance, we need to head back to the management directory and we need to go to decoders. And then you'll see to the right, there's a custom decoders button. You click on that, and then this will list all the custom decoders which you've created. So initially, you'll just see this local decoder example that lives in there. And then you can see the two that I've already created for Zenarmor. So we're going to be setting those up now. So what you'll need to do is then click on the Add New Decoders file in the top right, and then it's going to give you a space where you can start creating your decoder. So in this space, or in this window, you'll need to give your decoder a name. In this case, I've just called mine zen-decoder.xml. And then you need to supply the XML code. I will include this code in a blog post for you guys, so you can go and just copy it from there. But basically what this does is we are going to create a decoder named ZenDec. And then what it's going to do is it's going to perform a pre-match. So this pre-match is going to look for the Zenarmor word in the syslog message. It's going to basically be the application that it's going to initially detect. Once it's detected or done the pre-match for Zenarmor, then it's going to move on to the actual decoder, which I've named Zen-Con. The parent tag over here just refers back to the pre-match decoder that we created above. And what we're going to do here is another pre-match to look for the data equals part of the syslog message. Then this line over here, the plugin decoder offset equals after pre-match, and then it calls the pre-built JSON decoder, which comes with Wazuh, is basically going to take all of the JSON data that is returned to us after this data.equals section, and it's going to decode it for us. Yeah, so just so that that decoder makes a little bit more sense, this is a syslog message that comes from Zenarmor. So the first pre-match phase that we go through, the decoder checks this first line where it says opensense.localdomain Zenarmor, which is the application name that generated this particular syslog message. So the pre-match phase will first look out for that. If this syslog message qualifies as that, then it goes into the next part of the decoder phase, which is the Zen-Con, like we set up in the previous step. Then what it does is it comes to this piece of the syslog message where it says data equals, like I showed you previously, and it then will take all the data which is returned in these JSON key pairs over here from Zenarmor, and it will run it through the JSON decoder built into Wazuh. And it will map each of these particular bits of information returned from Zenarmor to a field name in Wazuh. So the ones that we would be looking out for over here that are important would be things like the security tags. In this case, we can see that this particular message was flagged as a phishing attempt, and it was blocked by Zenarmor because of that. We'll go into a little bit more detail about how Zenarmor catches and sends these later. But you can see there's a whole lot of relevant information here that we might want to match on, or we would need as part of our analysis later on down the line. Things like the IP source address, the host name, the direction of the traffic, the destination address, the destination host name, and so on. Okay, so now that you have a better idea of how the decoder works and you've set it up and you've seen a sample of what a syslog message looks like from Zenarmor, you're then going to save your decoder and you'll need to restart your Wazuh manager in order for it to take effect. There's also an option over here if you ever need to test your decoders or your rules, which we're going to set up in the next step, where you can take a syslog message or any log that you're trying to decode, and you can run a test against it, and then it'll output some results in this bottom section over here to let you know whether the decoder is actually functioning correctly and whether it caught the matches that you've set up in your rule. This comes in handy when troubleshooting or testing your rules and you just want to make sure they work correctly. Okay, so moving on to step number 4, this is where we create our custom rule. So to do this, you're going to once again head back to your management window, your management menu, and you're going to come over to rules. And on the top right, you're going to click on the custom rules button. And over here, like you saw with the decoders, we will have all the custom rules that we created. You can already see I have a couple that I've made for Zenarmor already. So to add a new rule, you're simply going to click on the add new rule file. And like we saw with the decoder, it's going to give you a space where you can then start writing your rules. So your first step in the rule creation is to firstly give it a name. In this case, I called mine zenarmor-rules.xml. And then just a quick breakdown of this rule structure and how these tags work. So the group tag that we see at the top, that's just the group of applications that the rule applies to. So in this case, it's Zenarmor. And we must always define the group tags or else the rules will just not save and they won't work at all. The next tag over here is the rule ID tag. So each rule needs a unique rule ID. For custom rules, you can have anything between 100,000 and 120,000. So in my case, I just started mine from 111,000. The level option just next to it over here, this is the Wazuh alert level ranging from 1 to 15 that we will provide for this particular rule. So by default, Wazuh only creates alerts for level 3 messages and above. So just keep that in mind when we move on to our children rules just below. Then the decode as option tags over here basically points back to our Zen decoder, which we created in the previous step. The description, this is where you provide a brief description or a reason that will be displayed in the alert event table or stream that we'll see later on in the configuration. But this is basically just a reason why this particular alert was created or triggered that you will see when you analyze these alerts in Wazuh. The options tag over here, there's various rule options you can set up. If you refer to the blog article that I wrote about this, I've put a link there with all the different options that you can have. Then if we move on to the children rules just below this, this is the parent and these are the children. you can see that once again, we give it a rule ID of 100,012. So it's just following on from the previous one. And in this case, we've told it that this is a level 3 alert. So it needs to trigger an alert if this match is made. Then if SID, this refers to the parent above. So it'll first check that the decoded message that we created in the previous step belongs to the Zenarmor log and comes from the Zen decoder. It will then always check the parent first, and from there we are looking for a field name. So this is the field name security tags, like I showed you in the syslog message earlier, and we're looking for the keyword in there, phishing. Over here, you can use any regular expression to form matches that you might need in the particular syslog message. So you can match using regular expressions. In this case, we're just looking for the keyword phishing. Then referring back to descriptions like I described earlier, in this case, we're giving it a description where we're saying that Zenarmor has blocked the connection, and we've told it that it's the category of a possible phishing attempt. So this message you'll see a little bit later when I trigger an alert, and I'll show you when it comes through into the event stream. This is the message that will be visible. So off the bat, you'll be able to immediately see that Zenarmor blocked the connection because it suspected that it was a phishing attempt. And then the other rules just below that follow a similar pattern, with the exception that we're looking for things like hacking, malware, and proxy access type connections. Okay, so just to quickly summarize what I just mentioned, the above rule firstly creates and it checks for the decoded events that originate from Zenarmor. Then the children rules, ranging between 100,012 to 100,015 respectively, match the extracted security tags. In this case, we're looking for phishing, hacking, malware, and proxy. And there's plenty of other tags that we could match on. However, to keep things simple, we'll just work with those ones for now. Then if any of these security tags are matched, a level 3 alert is created with the description. So e.g. it would be Zenarmor blocked a connection, category possible phishing attempt or possible hacking attempt. And then the alert will be injected into the Wazuh alert feed for further analysis. This rule set is fairly simple. I do, however, encourage you to go and look at the Wazuh rule syntax in their documentation. There's loads of additional tags and options that we can piece together to create some really powerful rule sets if that's something that you want to do. I will include this rule in my blog post. I'll put the link in the description. So once you've created this, you are simply going to click save on the top right, and you are going to restart your Wazuh manager, and then the rule will become active. Okay, so the final step in this process, we want to observe how these alerts look when they're created by Wazuh. So in order to do this, I went over to Fish Tank and I just selected a random live phishing website that was submitted by one of the people that use this particular platform, which is this over here. And in here, you can simply click on view in frame, and you'll see from this immediately that Zenarmor has detected this as a phishing attempt, and it's just closed the connection. So it's prevented us from accessing that particular phishing website. Just a word of caution, if you do use this website, just be careful that you don't click or interact with any of these particular phishing campaigns that have been flagged, as you could put yourself in a lot of trouble, but I don't think I need to go into too much detail about that. So to show you from a Zenarmor perspective how that particular threat was blocked, you're going to go over to your Zenarmor live sessions menu, and you simply come to the top menu and you can click on threats, and you'll see in the threats list below that same destination host name that I showed you on Fish Tank has been blocked. And if you look over here, the security category that it's flagged it as is phishing. And this same security category over here is what we see, or what we saw in the security tag that was returned in the syslog message to Wazuh. So this just shows that Zenarmor has successfully prevented that connection from happening, and it's protected our endpoint. Then moving back into our Wazuh dashboard, we are going to go to the Security Information Management menu, or the modules directory over here. And we can simply click on Security Events. And then if we go and look at the actual events, we can see that the syslog messages were successfully decoded and that the rules were matched that we set up in the previous steps. And over here you can see that the rule description, like I described earlier, Zenarmor blocked a connection, category, possible phishing attempt. If you click on that, you'll be able to see a great deal more information about why it blocked it. These are all the fields that were decoded from that JSON data that we pulled through from Zenarmor. So you can see things like the host name, the destination IP address, the source IP address, the security tag that it pulled out was phishing. And from here, you can use all this information to analyze this threat further. If we scroll a little further down, you can see that the decoder name and the decoder parent was Zen-Deck and Zen-Deck, like we set up in the previous rule. So now that you have Zenarmor integrated with Wazuh, some further steps that you can consider taking from here on and getting the most out of this type of integration would be, you could create custom dashboards that uses and displays these alerts in like a useful way. You can correlate these alerts with others, for example, like alerts from Sysmon, to give you a better overview of the potential threat across your network and your endpoints. You can integrate Wazuh with your security incident response platform like the Hive, like I showed in the previous video, how you can do that, where you can create and manage cases based on these alerts. And you can simply from there perform further testing and analysis, look for indicators of compromise, observables, etc. To wrap things up, you should now have a better understanding of how you can integrate Zenarmor with your SIEM of choice using Syslog. Syslog is a popular protocol used to send log messages and is supported by most, if not all, SIEM solutions, so you're not just limited to using Wazuh in this case. If you've enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Your support is always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.